Saivion, can you hear me, my man?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
All
How
right.
you doing?
Doing good. You?
Doing fantastic. You recognize this, Saivion?
Yeah, I remember that play. That was my first sack.
Yep, you and Mackay combining on that one. Boom! Just obliterating that dude. Obliterating that dude.
I still felt like I should have got it, but that was good. It should have been one, not point 0.5.
Absolutely. I kind of hate the way they do sacks in college. They're kind of harsh. They're really selective in how they give them up. Really conservative. This is my favorite play though. 3rd and 10, absolutely blow up that quarterback, force the punt, force the fumble on that one as well.
What's crazy about that play is I wasn't supposed to do that.
Really?
I was supposed to wrap back under and rush to the A gap, but I saw the open lane, so I just took it. Hmm.
Man, you had that overload on that play. You guys had like what Harold, you and Jaqueline Roy over there. It was like,
Yep.
how is
We was lined up from the outside of the guard to the outside of the tackle.
I
So
mean,
it makes it hard for that center to come all the way, because you got the tackle got to fan out all the way to him. I meant to Harold. The guard got to fan out to me, and the center got to go fan out to Jaquelian. But they had a messed up right there, and the guard ended up picking up Jaquelian instead of me, and that's how I came free.
you can't block all those guys at once. There's just no way. Not a 5-man line, not a 6-man line with the tight end. It just doesn't matter. But Saivion, I'm so excited for you to join us tonight, my man. Number 35 in the house here. I've actually met your mom, Seneca, in Atlanta for the for the SEC title game.
Oh, okay.
She was fantastic. We kind of helped each other find where the meetup was actually going to be. There was a lot of confusion of where the parents and players were going to be meeting up. It was kind of crazy
Right.
there, but Savion, I want to start it off somewhere where I don't think a lot of people know this about you.
Right.
Um, I don't think a lot of people know the adversity. I mean, they see a big time defensive end, 6'6", 260, something like that, 258,
80.
280. I mean, you're just flying around. They see a huge athlete, big time athlete, prime, healthy. They don't understand that you actually had some big time health adversity as a child. When you're only weeks old, you faced something that was life threatening. And could you tell us that story? If people, especially for people who don't know where you've been, what you've been through.
All right, so I was like an infant, like a just born infant when this happened. So I had to hear this story from my mama a lot of times. So basically, when I was young, when I was an infant, I had trouble breathing. So what they did was had a wire, like something like a breathing tube hooked up to my neck. And basically, when I was young, I ended up yanking the wire away from my neck, and which basically so-called killed me. And it was like a very traumatic experience for my mom, because she told me how, like, your heart stopped, and like the doctor tried to bring you back, and how I had to get airlifted in a helicopter to another hospital and stuff like that. And she said, by the grace of God, I just my heart started beating again, and I was able to live. And from that forward on, I always count myself as a blessing since day one.
Man, and there's that scar right there on
Yep.
your neck.
Right here, just a daily reminder.
Man, I mean, I had just had pneumonia when I was weeks old and was in a fight for my life in an incubator even for a few days. It was pretty crazy. I've seen the photos. I've seen the how freaked out my parents look in those photos, but that sounds just a lot worse because just the pulling out of that. The breathing. It's your mom must have been going through hell, my man. I'm so So glad you made it through.
Yeah. But yeah, I count that every day a blessing to be alive right now.
Man, I mean, it's just kind of a puts everything into perspective, but what you've done with your life since then. I mean, what attracted you to the game of football at a young age? Were you really just like, this is something that I'm, born to do?
Nah, my first love was basketball actually, and I'm pretty good at it. But um, I don't. So I played basketball and football all my life, but is that when I got to middle school, I played wide receiver, and then the D line coach came down to me. He was like, "Have you ever thought about playing defensive end?" And I was like, "No, I want to catch balls and make touchdowns, not put my hand in the dirt and block. I mean, go against fat dudes." And he was like, "Well, you should try one day." And then I ended up breaking my thumb one day, and I just was sitting. I had time to think to myself, and I was like, you know what? Let me get this position to try. And I knew, well, I didn't know, but my defensive end coach knew since the first day when he was teaching us how to do the stand and how like it just like the stands came natural to me. Like he was, my stands was better than some of the seniors that was there, and from that forward on, that's when he knew I had the potential to be a very good defensive end. And then when I got to when I got to high school my sophomore year, when I had like 20 plus sacks, that's when like I knew that this is me right here. Like this is my position.
I mean, absolutely. What you did at St. James, I mean, you just said it, but I mean, it wasn't just the sacks. I mean, you put up like 100 tackles in a single season at one point. That 2019 season at St. James. I mean, you guys brought home your first state title since 1979, and it was a historic season. I mean, you guys coached by someone who I count as a friend, head coach Robert Valdez, amazing man, led up front defensively by you. Have you noticed like any major differences in your role or your skill set from St. James from back then to LSU? Has anything really changed in your role for that team and for LSU?
Can you break it down a little more?
Like the role you had for St. James, is it the same that you have for LSU, or it's probably not even close because of this different defensive setup, of course, right?
Well, for high school, it was simple, really. Go get the quarterback. And here, I feel like it's more. I wouldn't say complicated, but it's more stuff to it. But at the end of the day, my job is to stop the run and get the quarterback. So I say it's kind of the same, but it's just more stuff added to it from high school to college.
I mean, you racked up the numbers. It was like 25 tackles for loss in one season, 13 sacks, 29 pressures. I mean, you blocked punts, you forced safeties. I mean, there's the numbers right there. 9 pass breakups. This is just 2019, 2020, your junior and senior years combined. 178 tackles, 48 pressures. I mean, he did it all right there. You could see it all right there. And then you guys finished it off right with the state title. Coach Robert Valdez, really, we did an interview on this site talking to him about you back in 2020, clear back in 2020. And he's the current offensive line coach at Grambling. Um, but what does that man mean to you? What did he do for you? What kind of impact did he have for you at St. James?
Well, of course, he did a lot of things for me on the field, like looking out for me, stuff like that, helping us win a championship. But there's a lot of things that he did for me off the field, like he'll be the person, man, why this homework not done? Even till this day in college, is your homework done? Make sure you go to tutoring and stuff like that. And even outside of that, it's just stuff like learning how to be a man. Like you need to take control, become a leader, stuff like that. And I feel like he like a big part of my life that played him and defensive line coach Bernell Taylor, because he also played a big role in me becoming a man of the day.
And you guys really accomplished a lot together. But like you just said, it's more than just the game, and it's just really cool to hear that Coach Valdez is still keeping up with you. Of course he would. The guy is just that's just who he is. Uh, you
Right.
you were highly recruited though at St. James, and I felt 99% confident at that time that you would become a Tiger. But was there like a program that came in that was convincing or maybe even tempting to away from LSU?
So it's a funny story because when I first got my LSU offer, especially around that time is when all the stuff started coming up to, all the bad stuff started coming up to LSU. So the first thing that me and my mom was like, I don't know about this school. And then, you know, as it went on, like they was the most consistent, and they had other schools that were just as consistent though. But what I really felt like had them apart was you'll have these different people come text me from other colleges, but when you look at LSU, it was Ed Orgeron himself. He was the one calling me, texting me, and stuff like that. Like there are other people too, but it was mainly the head coach, keeping up with me, and I felt like us building that connection played a big role, and what also played a big role was COVID because that was the only school that took an unofficial visit. So I never took any official visits, but I went to that school. I went to LSU and watched a couple games unofficially. And when COVID hit, I wasn't able to go nowhere else. So it was like, I mean, this is the only school I got connections with the staff and all that. So I just felt like that was my best choice.
Interesting. I mean that your first year at LSU though. I mean you come in and Coach Ed Orgeron, just like you brought up. I mean it feels like a, a lifetime ago, but it was only just a little bit ago, 2021, when you arrived as a Tiger playing under Coach O. And how different was the environment with that regime only just a few 2 years ago, the environment or maybe even like the mindset around the team compared to right now?
Well, I said the mindset ain't no different, but it's like with Ed Orgeron, how I feel is we with Ed Orgeron, we worked hard and we worked every single day, like hardest workouts of my life. Now with Brian Kelly, his workouts is hard too. Don't get me wrong, they're hard, but I feel like I don't. Let me see. I want to say this. I'm not trying to say this one easy and that one harder, but it's like I don't want to
less
say this.
less less intensity, maybe
Yeah, but
less
I just feel
strenuous, maybe less
I just feel
brutal.
like I just feel like the people that we have now that's under BK and the players, I feel like their motives is more stronger, and then with the previous players and the previous coach, like I can feel their motivation just by looking at them, like looking in their eyes, stuff like that. Like you can really feel that.
I mean, you're talking about a guy like Jake Flint, man. I mean, you guys have been doing the conditioning grind with him. So, I mean, Scott Kuhn, I mean, he's got a great conditioning staff. I mean, how do you feel like those guys have molded you since you've arrived as an athlete?
Oh, with them, Flint, that's my guy. I feel like what I like about them is that they ain't all about lift weights, lift weights just cause when he do stuff, he do it with a purpose. Like if we running 100 gases, we ain't doing it just to run it. We doing it for a purpose. If we lifting super light and we trying to go up, but he tell us stay right there, we doing it for a purpose. He want us to stay right there because it's all part of the plan, and I trust in his plan.
I mean, and the proof's been in the pudding because LSU were an awesome second half team last year. You guys, a lot of comebacks, but just you guys like literally wore teams down in the trenches as games went on. And not just like we're talking against the gimme games, the gimme teams. We're talking about against grade A top competition, the best of the best. You guys outlasted teams in the fourth quarter thing. I think that is thanks to the work you guys are doing now. Uh, One thing that Saivion that's really interesting, you guys have had LSU has had 8 different D line coaches in the last 8 years, and you've already experienced 3 in just your third season. Has that been problematic for your development, or has that not been an issue?
To me, it hasn't been an issue because each coach that came through, to me, there wasn't about business. There wasn't like, oh, you're not useful to me, so I don't need to work on you. Each coach that I had, no matter if it's one of our best D linemen messing up a step to our not so best D lineman, he go coach us all the same. If I step wrong, he go coach me. If Mason step wrong, he go coach me. And I feel like that's been a very consistent thing um, with each D line coach that came in. So yeah, to sum it up, it's like they care about you personally and not just business wise.
That was something I was going to ask you. Is like maybe you've been able to take a piece of something for your game from each coach that you've learned under, but like which one is which coach so far do you think was like had the biggest impact? I mean, obviously Coach Lindsey, very early days, so we won't really count anything against him. You've barely had much time against under him, so maybe Kane and Andre Carter. How did things go with those two?
So what they both taught different ways. See, cause Carter, he was more of a hands on. Like I remember one day he had pass on and he was hands on with us, like teaching us how to do the stuff. And it's like with Coach Kane, he get to the more he ain't gonna put pads on, but he go coach us to the best of his abilities. Like technical wise, like from the how far your feet go forward, how where your hands at and how you place them and stuff like that. So I feel like they both awesome coaches, and especially how they able to teach it in their own ways.
How did you just brought his name up, but how did you feel about Jamar Kane's kind of shock departure just a little bit ago?
We talked about it, and I felt like he just did what was best for him, and just like me and every other D lineman, we happy for him, and we proud to be able to play a season under him.
Man, I mean, he's just seems to be someone who climbs the ladder. I mean, he's had a lot of different gigs, USC, Oklahoma, of course, LSU to the resume, now the Broncos. I mean, very interesting character, Jamar Kane, very interesting guy. Sad to see him only get a year at LSU, but Jimmy Lindsey comes in to replace him, and Brian Kelly, hired him out of South Carolina. He's kind of a wild card name. A lot of people didn't expect him, including us. I know you've only had limited time, playing with him, meeting with him. What's been your early thoughts for about Coach Lindsey?
So when Coach House was picking the coaches, he brought up some of the D line players, and he asked us what we looking for in a new D line coach. I told him, he need to be ready to coach us to the best of our abilities and be able to get to know all of us one on one and build that kind of relationship. So when he picked him, Coach Lindsey, and I trust Coach House. So if I trust Coach House to pick a good D lineman for us, that means I trust him already. So and to me, I trust him already. Like, of course, we still got to build a relationship at the end of the day, but when it's all said and done, I trust him.
I mean, you're looking at a guy like Coach House who's got that relationship with him. Obviously, had a really strong inclination that this is the guy. There was a lot of names thrown out there, but he seemed to be the right guy for the right hire, and it seems like maybe him and House will have that chemistry on staff. But something I really wanted to ask you, because I think this obviously directly affects how you play your position. LSU switched from the 4-3 to the 3-4. Obviously, when Coach O left, Matt House comes in. How has that affected your development?
I don't think it really affected me at all. Like I feel like I got the ability to, especially now that I put the pounds on, I feel like I got the ability to play what it is, a head up four eye, three tech, or 5 tech. I feel like I got the ability to play all of them.
Well, we've seen the proof of that. We can just put it up right here. Let's put this video back in the thing in the background, because this is just fun to watch. This is just fun to watch here.
Might be between the facilities.
When you first arrived at LSU, you were kind of penciled in to be a typical 4-3 defensive end. But now you've kind of evolved to be a 3-4 jack linebacker. Like, which do you prefer, like 4-3 or 3-4?
I don't have a preference. Well, I mean, if I really had to choose, I'll pick the 4-3 defense, because I like that, that be put on the edge, be the edge of the defense, keep everything inside you, be able to rush from the edge. That's what I like to do. But to be honest, I could do either one.
That's the thing, is it seems like your skill set is kind of just fine for all of those. Like, that's the thing, you could almost put you anywhere, and you would be you'd excel out there. This is kind of interesting about watching your game. Would you rather play with your hand in the dirt or standing? That's an interesting one I always wanted to ask you.
I could put my hand in the dirt. I feel like I could generate more power and more speed whenever I put my hand in the dirt.
You produced 4.5 sacks last season, including a really, really cool moment where you smashed the football right out of Will Rogers' grasp with just a violent strip sack hit. What did you learn most about yourself last season, Saivion?
Well, like during the season, especially in the beginning, I had a lot of doubt in my mind. But as I played the games, I learned that if I remind myself who I am and why I came here, then everything all starts to come together.
And that's the thing. I'm starting to see something kind of aligning here, something kind of building here each season. How do you think it'll positively affect your career? I'm watching you play alongside some of these guys who are now playing in the NFL, B.J. Ojulari, to name one, and then of course a guy who will probably be playing in the NFL coming soon, Harold Perkins. How is playing along guys like that, Jaquelin Roy? How has that affected your game?
That affected my game a lot, because when I step on the field, one of them, I know that when they step on the field, they come in with their A game. So to me, I expect myself to bring nothing less than my A game.
And we're seeing that. You've been mentioned as a starter for the season. Like, are you have any apprehension? Well, what are your thoughts heading into fall camp about where you're at progress wise?
Heading in the fall camp, my mindset through heading in the fall camp is to prove myself even more. I feel like I don't want to say I don't want to say that I feel like I proved myself to everybody and now I'm good. Now I feel like I need to prove myself even more, so I can really put it in their mind why I'm here.
That's the thing, Savion. You're facing just some serious competition at defensive end. It's a pretty much a wide open spot. Do you feel this D line is deeper along the interior than the edges this
I
season?
feel like we is deeper in the interior, but the edge we make up for it because there's a lot of talent on the edge, and with that, it's not like, oh, I'm not gonna help him because if I help him, he gonna pass me up. Now we all help each other, and that's what I feel like. That's what we got as a one up on everybody else because we push each other to get better.
Who's blown you away this spring and this summer, like, and just kind of shocked you this off season with their growth and progress?
Probably Quincy Wiggins because that's a freak. He he just got a body like a body that a big man not supposed to have. That's what it is. He got a body of a big man that you don't usually see. You don't see abs on a fat person. You don't see that, and that's something that Quincy got, and that's like something you can't just. That's not something everybody just have. That's something special to him.
And man, he could be that future defensive end partner for you. I mean, whether it's this season or in the future. I mean, that's a dude who, like you just said, seeing him up close this spring, I was just like, wow, he's gotten even thicker and more steely from last season. Just an absolute freak specimen. Hopefully we can see him unleashed, you unleashed, both on, bookend on the wings and just absolutely wreak some havoc. But another guy who LSU brought in to kind of add some experience to the defensive end group. I mean, Ovi Ogufu. Is he the leader of the defensive ends, do you think?
So he's with the Jack, and the Jack and the DNs don't usually. Well, we be together, but they don't classify us together. But when we are together, he don't mind putting his foot down and stepping up and be the one to come on, let's go, guys. Like we got this.
Quincy he's really interesting guy because you can move him all over the place. Ovi is a guy that coming off that edge, Jack linebacker. Braden Swinson is another guy that's in there. Paris Shallon's another guy that's in there. Jacobian Guillory. This is a dude who's been the LSU. I think now will be his fourth year. What have you seen from him this summer that is kind of intriguing to you with Jacobian?
What's very intriguing to me about Jacobian is his awareness in the playbook. Like if you ask him to draw up one of our plays, he ain't gonna just draw up his position, and he ain't gonna just draw up my position. He could draw up the linebackers, the DBs, and the safeties, and that's impressive to me for for a D lineman to know because having an understanding of that helps you realize why you can't go back into this gap or why you have to stay in this gap the whole time. That's pretty impressive to me.
That's blowing my mind. I did not know that about Jacobian Guillory, that he was such a student of the game. This is so cool. This is why this is awesome talking to you. I mean, we won't take up too much of your time though, Saivion, but still, I got to ask you about a few more guys. Deshaun Womack is a guy that everyone's really kind of wondering about. Does he have that type of potential? Is the hype real?
I said the hype is real. When he first got here, he had a hard time adjusting to the speed of the game, like the speed of our drills and like going against the old linemen. But when you watch him, like when you actually sit back and watch him practice through practice, it's like he asks less. You see him ask less questions. He don't move like he's guessing what to do. And when you see him move, it's like he has to be right there and he goes to that spot.
Interesting, because Womack is somebody that, I mean, it just, when LSU, everyone's thinking, okay, defensive end, we're kind of light there. It's like, well, actually, if you really put the names out there, you really go through each guy, it's like, wow, we're actually got some serious talent there. Another guy, I guess you actually would classify him as a Jack linebacker, but a young guy, Jackson Howard. Met this dude back in spring. Awesome young man. What do you think? What are your impressions of Jackson?
My impressive Jackson is, I say he is like a hard working person. Like if we got, if it's a screen and he all the way on the opposite side of the screen, if you the wide receiver running that ball, you better keep running because Jackson will come right behind you and catch you from the other side of the field, even if he got to chase you all the way down to the touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, you saw a few glimpses of that at the spring game, but just to finish up, we got to get back to you though, because number 35, we're expecting some big things from you this season. A lot of people are. I mean, you've been making all these lists, these Pro Football Focus lists, these big game boomer lists, all these social media lists that, frankly, obviously we know they don't mean anything, but it's still very cool to see them recognize you as someone who is kind of coming into their own. Everything's kind of building and aligning to this season. What's your number one goal just headed into the fall, your third season as a Tiger?
My number one goal is to go in there, and I want to, from the very first practice to the last practice we have, I want to be better than the last practice that I did before. So it's like whenever we have practice and they upload the film, I have like my notebook right here, and they got one page that'll say got better at, and they have another page that says need to work on. And I just go through each play and like just sum it up at the end and be like, so this is what I need to get better at, and this what I did good and stuff like that. And then when I go into the next practice, I come with it on my mind. All right, these are things that I need to work on. And so I feel like that's gonna be a big goal for me to try to get better than the last practice that I did before.
My man, I mean, we're seeing it. We're seeing your rise each season. This should be a really big year for you. Should be a really big year for this defensive line, for this defensive front in total. Maybe this entire defense, because I mean, you guys lost some guys to the NFL, some veteran guys, but at the same time, you added some big pieces in the portal. You got the right coaches to elevate you guys. This is a very exciting season, a very exciting time around LSU, with baseball winning a title, women's basketball winning a title. I mean, do you guys? Last question. Do you guys feel any pressure to deliver next?
I mean, we know that they have pressure, but we don't feel the pressure. We
Yeah.
don't see it as pressure. We see it as motivation. Like, oh, they got this year too, and they got this year too. So now it's our time. Like that gives us hype. When we see our other Tigers winning, that just hypes us up even more. Especially when the baseball team won, when some of the D linemen we was together and we was just hyped up after they won that game, and it was like, yeah, now it's our turn to get a natty.
That's what LSU does, my man. That's why you joined LSU. That's why you joined LSU, graduating as a champion. You know, open up your options in life, graduating, but opening up your options as a football player with a championship, and then team success, individual success, off-field success. It's just an environment that breeds success, my man. And thank you so much for joining us, Saivion. We get a great vibe from talking with you. Love your family. Tell your mom Seneca we absolutely cannot wait to see her again. Awesome meeting her, and awesome virtually meeting you here. And hopefully we'll see you in August when we're down there next month.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Always, Saivion. Go Tigers, my man. You have a great rest of your night.
You too.
Absolutely.
All right.
Saivion Jones, number 35, my man.